That night, the heavenly observation tower had never been so silent. At the peak of the tower, Grand Celestial Mechanist Luo Changyuan unfolded the Heaven's Mandate Disc, an artifact used only when the continent faced a great upheaval. Constellation glyphs revolved across its surface, violet light illuminating his aged face. The target of the divination was merely a name that had surfaced after the incident at Skyfall City. Ye Chenhao. A teenager. A survivor. Someone who by all accounts should not have been significant enough to alarm the highest tiers of power. Luo Changyuan closed his eyes, guided the astral force, and reached toward the boy's fate. The moment he made contact, the Heaven's Mandate Disc trembled violently. The star glyphs shattered. A backlash slammed straight into his sea of consciousness, forcing a mouthful of blood from his lips. On the divination platform, every trajectory of the future vanished, leaving behind only a colossal shadow slowly opening its eyes. In the void, two blood-red words emerged. Black Sovereign. Luo Changyuan staggered back, half a step trembling. He had divined emperors, evil gods, and ancient demon lords, but he had never encountered a fate so completely shielded. Something stood behind that young man, a force even greater than the heavenly temple itself. Elsewhere, Ye Chenhao suddenly lifted his head and looked into the night sky as if he sensed that someone had just brushed against his destiny. The game had begun. After the night the Heaven's Mandate Disc cracked, the heavenly temple immediately sealed off all information. Grand Celestial Mechanist Luo Changyuan announced he was entering seclusion, but before the doors closed, he left behind a single command. Keep watch on the boy named Ye Chenhao. Do not let him disappear from our sight. Meanwhile, in Skyfall City, still reeling from the recent catastrophe, Ye Chenhao was cleaning up the aftermath. The chaotic battle had dealt heavy losses to the major factions, but it had also unintentionally placed his name squarely on the board. A teenager who survived at the very heart of the upheaval, that alone was anything but normal. But the problem did not stem from the Heavenly Temple alone. In the Northern Blood Hall, Qin Mo had just seized control of the sect, believing he had become its supreme master. At that very moment, a man in white appeared in the Grand Hall carrying an aura so cold the air itself seemed to freeze. He spoke a single sentence that sent a chill down Qin Mo's spine. You are merely a placeholder. The true master of the Blood Hall is watching. Then came the first order delivered from the shadows. Kill Ye Chenhao. From that moment on, the destinies of three great forces intertwined. The Heavenly Temple watches. The Blood Hall hunts. And a black sovereign lurks in the darkness. Are you ready to step into this vortex? If you want to see how Ye Chenhao will face what's coming, comment 1. As the Heavenly Temple quietly cast its net, and the Blood Hall began its pursuit, Ye Chenhao realized one thing: if he remained in Skyfall City, he would be nothing more than prey waiting to be harvested. But the greatest danger came from within. Inside the secret realm artifact he had seized after the great upheaval, an ancient malevolent spirit was slowly awakening. At first it had pretended to be weak, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. This time, however, Chenhao gave it no choice. Using a forbidden soul technique, he forced the spirit to manifest. A crimson shadow floated in midair, its eyes brimming with killing intent, yet laced with unmistakable fear. What do you want? The spirit hissed. I want cooperation, Chenhao replied coldly. There are people outside who want my life. In here a blood fiend beast lies sealed. Possess it. I'll help you find a new body later. It was a gamble. If it succeeded, he would gain a powerful strategic piece. If it failed, the secret realm would collapse, the backlash would shatter his soul, and he would die on the spot. Outside, the hunting parties had already begun tracking his trail. Inside, the blood fiend beast opened its eyes within a sea of blood. Ye Chenhao took a slow, steady breath. The hunt had officially begun, but this time he would not be the prey. The moment the malevolent spirit plunged into the soul of the blood fiend beast, Ye Chenhao immediately felt the secret realm tremble violently. But what happened next surpassed all his calculations. Within the blood fiend beast's sea of consciousness, there was not the chaotic darkness of a mindless creature. Instead, it was a sea of blood in perfect order, each rolling wave carrying a will of its own. At the center of that crimson ocean, a colossal eye slowly opened, cold and ancient, staring directly at the invading spirit. The malevolent spirit urgently transmitted its voice. This isn't a wild beast, it's a vessel for an ancient will. At that very moment, outside the secret realm, Ye Chenhao sensed a familiar aura closing in. The Blood Hall's hunting party had arrived. The board had flipped. At first he had been the one hunting the blood fiend beast to strengthen himself. Now he was trapped between two crushing forces. Inside, an ancient will on the verge of obliterating the malevolent spirit. Outside, Qin Mo tracking his every trace. If the spirit failed, the blood fiend beast would go berserk, and the secret realm would shatter. If he retreated now, every calculation he had made would crumble into nothing. Ye Chenhao clenched his fists. This was no longer a gamble for greater power. This was the decisive moment. Either he would ascend to an entirely new level, or be crushed between an ancient force and the shadow of relentless pursuit. The sea of blood within the blood fiend beast's soul suddenly surged upward. The malevolent spirit was swept into waves as red as molten lava. its spiritual form torn apart piece by piece. Its screams echoed through the sea of consciousness, and even outside, Ye Chenhao felt a sharp piercing pain stab through his own mind. "I can't hold on," the spirit shrieked. At the same time, the colossal eye at the center of the blood sea opened fully. An ancient pressure poured outward, slamming into the secret realm itself. The boundary walls trembled violently as spiderweb cracks spread across the small sky within. Outside, the blood-fiend beast began to go berserk. It roared its body, swelling as blood aura erupted around it in violent torrents. Again and again, it crashed against the borders of the world's power. Each impact sent violent tremors through Ye Chenhao's soul. Beyond the ceiling formation, Qin Mo's aura had drawn near. A cold laugh echoed from the distance. "Ye Chenhao, I know you're in there." Two overwhelming pressures descended at once. Inside, the ancient will was about to devour the malevolent spirit. Outside, the hunter had locked onto his position. If the blood-fiend beast broke free, now the secret realm would collapse. He would not only lose everything, he would be caught between a rampaging monster and a high-level assassin. For the first time since stepping into this gamble, Ye Chenhao felt it. He might have miscalculated. A dull explosion resounded within the secret realm. The final crack in that small sky shattered completely. The sea of blood inside the blood-fiend beast's soul fully devoured the malevolent spirit. The connection between it and Ye Chenhao snapped abruptly like a cord severed midair. Chenhao froze. He could no longer sense the spirit's consciousness. All that remained was a cold ancient will. Awakening. The blood-fiend beast roared as its pressure erupted violently. The world force Chenhao had erected warped under the strain. The mountain sea cauldron trembled as if on the verge of shattering. Soul backlash crashed into him, and a mouthful of fresh blood spilled from the corner of his lips. Outside, Qin Mo shattered the final layer of concealment. His figure appeared in midair, a ninth-grade sword blazing with radiant light. "You're out of options." In that instant, Ye Chenhao understood the situation with brutal clarity. The malevolent spirit had effectively failed. The blood-fiend beast was about to break free of its seal. Qin Mo had sealed off his last path of retreat. No allies, no time, no backup plan. Everything he had painstakingly calculated from the very beginning was collapsing before his eyes. And for the first time, death stood this close. At the very moment that seemed like certain doom, Ye Chenhao suddenly stopped resisting. He did not reinforce the cracking world force. He did not charge out to confront Qin Mo. Instead, he closed his eyes. Within the raging sea of blood, he could still sense an extremely faint fluctuation, not from the ancient will, but from the remnant soul of the malevolent spirit. It had not completely vanished. A realization struck him: the ancient will was using the blood-fiend beast as its vessel. If the vessel's origin were severely damaged, that will would also waver. He opened his eyes. The three-soul resonance, a soul attack technique he had never unleashed at full power, erupted into motion. But this time he did not strike the malevolent spirit, nor did he attack the surface soul of the blood-fiend beast. He targeted the core origin, linking the ancient will to its vessel. An invisible surge of light pierced through the sea of blood. The colossal eye trembled. The blood sea froze for the span of a single breath. In that instant, the remnant soul of the malevolent spirit flared to life, biting back at the very center of the consciousness. Outside, just as Qin Mo was about to make his move, the blood-fiend beast's aura abruptly reversed. Not erupting outward, but being dragged violently back inward. Ye Chenhao swept his hand through the air. The mountain sea cauldron opened wide, and the world force collapsed inward like a cage snapping shut. The board had just been overturned. As the mountain sea cauldron sealed shut, the secret realm trembled one final time, before falling into silence. The sea of blood dissolved. The ancient eye shattered into fragments of fading light. At the center of the soul, the malevolent spirit had seized a point of control, not complete, but enough to lock the blood-fiend beast in a state between awakening and seal. Ye Chenhao dropped to one knee, breathing heavily. His soul had suffered severe damage, yet his eyes burned brighter than ever. He had not merely survived. He had claimed control over the blood-fiend beast, a fragment of the ancient blood sea's origin, and a strategic piece powerful enough to shift the balance of the board. Outside, Qin Mo sensed the reversal of aura, and his expression darkened. The sword in his hand trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the realization that the opponent before him had surpassed all expectations. Ye Chenhao stepped out of the secret realm. Their eyes met. No words were needed. A destined battle had been set for the future, but not today. Far away in the deepest shadows, a quiet voice murmured, "The first trial. He is past." The game had only just begun. If you want to follow how the clash between Ye Chenhao and Qin Mo will erupt, comment 1 to step into the next chapter.